Hey guys, Wendy here. This is another redo of one of my first videos with narration because now that I've learned more on YouTube, I realize, of course, you don't want to just sit and read the screen. You want narration. I'm sorry my voice isn't nicer, but I'll do the best I can. But this way, if you're walking around, you don't have to look at the screen and you'll get all of the information. The name of this video is The Switcheroo, and I could have named it Sleight of Hand because I think that is a good description of what we see a lot from this president, who happens to also be an Oakland County Sheriff's deputy. His name is Mark Hickson, and the reason I say that is because it makes a difference in people believing him. Rather than follow the bylaws, which we all have provided for him because many of us thought he just didn't know them, rather than follow those, he makes up his own rules. He believes the bylaws do not apply to him and act accordingly. He'll make up something that sounds sort of reasonable, kind of legal-ish, and it's easier to just believe him. He's looking straight in your eye. You can trust him, right? I mean, he's a police officer, and he's warm, he's friendly. It says something that, that of course you can trust him. It's much easier to just believe him than to not believe a cop is telling you the truth, to go look up the bylaws yourself. And there's also been quite a campaign to label his whistleblowers as crazy, and all whistleblowers are called crazy by the people that are poised to lose the most should people actually look at what they're blowing the whistle to look at. I know that he's made me crazy in the eyes of many people. I know that he started laying a foundation for that last year. I could tell it was happening. And I also know he does that because I know he's done that to prior whistleblowers. I am not the first one to the scene to realize of this wrongdoing. The plaintiff in the lawsuit, he had me believing that he was a one-off. He was a cantankerous, grumpy old man with too much time on his hand, and he was, woohoo, just mentally unstable. Well, he's an anesthesiologist, so, he's wrong. And before that, he also characterized a resident that they were against the lights and they didn't feel like they could be heard. And so they put stakes in the ground to try to get other residents' attention. He labeled her as, I don't know if you use the word crazy, that's not as believable as mentally unstable. So I am at least the third in a line of whistleblowers that he has very convincingly made everyone else believe is crazy. You know what? I don't really care if you think I'm crazy as long as you still look at the truth, and this is the truth. And this is getting too long of an introduction, so I'm not going to make the whole video of the switcheroo right now. I'm just going to finish that explanation of how this happens, how the sleight of hand happens. So the switcheroo was one sleight of hand, and I'm going to do the other video now to explain that. Other sleights of hand have included at the meeting, when he made a big speech saying, that he was such a martyr. Basically, he didn't say he was a martyr. He would like to not do this, but just no one else will step up, and it's such hard work, and he's not appreciated. And then when it came time to elect board members, I produced a pile of proxies, and he immediately said, "Are they notarized?" And I said, "No, the bylaws don't require them to be." But in that moment, all these other people that hadn't read the bylaws, or maybe they had, but they still took his word for it more, started thinking, oh yeah, notarization, we should have them notarized. I don't know if he thought that I made them all up. I don't know if he thought the residents who provided them and signed them made them up. He never said, but he did instantly plant that doubt that nothing from me could be believed. It has to be notarized. There's no such thing as a notarization required for proxies, not just in bylaws, but anywhere. But he got that to take hold, and people were, he got everybody all riled up, and it was all dramatic and exciting. It was just too much. Oh my gosh, we just also have to go home and get proxies. Okay, so that's another sleight of hand. And I told everyone in the meeting, he's doing it right now. This is another sleight of hand. There's the rule, and we've told him the rule, but he's not acknowledging the rule because that doesn't help him get to the end that he wants to get to. So he's invented something else that sounds kind of reasonable, sounds kind of legal-ish, and he's saying it with authority, and he's a police officer. So people are just going to go with that. So that's another sleight of hand in addition to the switcheroo. Another sleight of hand is he keeps saying, well, the survey for lights came back positive. There was a survey. survey sounds fair, doesn't it? It sounds reasonable, but it's not the rule. So I don't care if there's a survey, and he shouldn't either. The bylaws clearly say for capital improvements that are new builds, for example, streetlights where there weren't before, an assessment is required. And he can't claim to not know the rules, even if he actually didn't know the rules, which is kind of scary. Many residents told him the rules. Many residents told him the rules. Many residents made their objections very well known, and they're documented. And I have those. I'll make another video. It's a lot of videos to make because he can make up something in the blink of an eye, and everybody believes him. But for me to try to show residents, like, this is what really is, it takes more time. Anyway, so that's another sleight of hand, saying that there was a positive survey on the lights. Positive survey doesn't matter. The vote is required. He knows that. But in addition to that, it's not truthful that the survey was positive. It was negative. And when he responds to a resident, you know, saying it needs to be an assessment, he says, well, this has nothing to do with an assessment. I have a committee. I have a committee of people, and they're going to recommend what the capital improvement project should be for this year. We're going to get all this money in dues, which, by the way, the dues are explained as maintenance on the ballot. You can see that on hawthornhillstransparency.org, a photograph of the actual ballot. No password is required for that website, unlike the official website, which requires passwords. It doesn't even give very much information. So, you know, he continues with the sleights of hand. And he's going to continue with the sleights of hand. That has eroded our rights. And he funds his capital improvements at the meeting. Even one of the committee members stood up and explained, well, we get this much money, and then we see what's left over from the capital improvements, and then we decide what to do. As I said in the meeting, and I'll say right now, that's backwards. First, you decide what you want to do, and you propose it to the residents, and if you get a passing vote of 66%, then you do it. He either has everyone else convinced that this is the rule, or they just don't care that they're breaking the rules. I don't really know. Can't speak for them. Anyway, this was meant to be an introduction to the switcheroo, but it's too long. But I did explain. Hopefully you get a sense of what's going on with the sleight of hand. Someone trustworthy, who's a police officer, says something to you, and he says he's going to do this, and it's out, there's some legal words in there, but it's not the bylaws. He knows they're not the bylaws, and he acts as though the bylaws don't apply to him without any apology or acknowledgement. So that's our president of our homeowners association, and that's what we are stuck with until we change it. I don't think he will be embarrassed into changing his behavior because it has been quite open. I've made it really clear with documents you can see for yourself. I've only redacted for residents' privacy, and he still has a core group that just can't wait to believe whatever he says. I don't understand that. Maybe they feel powerful being close to someone that's breaking the rules so much, and they're next to him, and they get to feel powerful too. I don't know. Anyway, that's up to them to work out. So just be aware of the sleights of hand. That's what they are. And I'm going to stop this and actually do the switcher now. Sorry.